Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive with us. Today, we're going to be tackling a concept that might just reshape how you view your goals. We're going to be exploring the idea of finding satisfaction in effort itself, regardless of the outcome.
Powerful stuff. And this story we're going to unpack today comes from Ryan Holiday's book, Ego is the Enemy. It focuses on the almost unbelievable life of Belisarius.
Belisarius. I like it. So the mission of this deep dive is to figure out how detaching our sense of worth from external outcomes can actually lead to a more fulfilling and resilient way of pursuing. You know what we want to achieve in life.
It's a shift in perspective that can make all the difference.
Okay, so imagine this. You're one of history's most accomplished military generals. You've saved your civilization multiple times. You've won brilliant, impossible victories. You even saved the throne during an uprising. But virtually no one knows your name. Doesn't seem fair, right?
You would think a society would celebrate someone like that. But that's precisely the story of Belisarius, a Roman general who served under Emperor Justinian, and whose achievements were pretty much unmatched.
Unmatched. He was a master strategist, pulling off victories in places like Dara, Carthage, Naples, even Sicily. And often he did all this with limited resources. That takes serious skill.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is that despite saving the Western world on multiple occasions, Belisarius received almost no recognition for his service.
Wow.
He was denied the public triumphs that were customary for victorious generals. Smear campaigns were launched against him. Eventually, he was stripped of his wealth. And some historians even believe he was blinded.
That's awful. It's a level of injustice that has shocked and outraged historians for centuries. But here's the most intriguing part. Through it all, Belisarius never complained. That's just incredible. I mean, how do you even begin to process that level of unfair treatment? Where do you even begin to find peace of mind?
That's where this idea of stoic acceptance comes in,
Yeah.
which is a hallmark of Belisarius' life. For him, doing the right thing was enough. The external outcomes, the praise or lack thereof, didn't dictate his sense of self-worth.
So have you ever found yourself in a situation where you put in a ton of effort into something, but the recognition just never came? It's a pretty common experience.
It is, and it can be pretty disheartening.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why this concept of detaching your well-being from needing external validation is so powerful.
So much of our world seems to revolve around that validation. I
Yeah.
mean, we post something online, immediately check for likes. We go above and beyond at work, hoping to impress the boss.
Exactly. It's almost as if we're wired to seek approval and affirmation from others. But as we're seeing with the story of Belisarius, this constant need for outside validation can leave us feeling empty and unfulfilled.
So then is it our ego that's demanding this recognition? Is that what's driving that need to be seen and appreciated?
It certainly plays a significant role. The ego thrives on external validation. It wants the rewards, the praise, the attention. But the danger lies in becoming overly reliant on these external factors for our happiness and motivation.
So how do we escape this ego trap? How do we detach from that constant need to prove ourselves to the world?
Well, one way is to think about it like this. Imagine working on a project you're really passionate about. You pour your heart and soul into it. But the moment you release that project into the world, you lose control.
Yeah. It's like sending your child off to their first day of school. You've prepared them the best you can, but you have no idea what experiences await them.
Right. Because just like that child going to school, your project will be judged, interpreted, and received
Yeah.
in ways you can't possibly predict or control.
So then how do we detach from the outcome? Is it even possible to silence that inner voice that craves external validation?
It's not easy, that's for sure. But recognizing that desire, shining a light on it, is the first step. Start noticing how often you seek validation from others, or compare yourself to their accomplishments.
So you're saying awareness is key. We need to become aware of those almost automatic reactions we have when we seek approval.
Precisely. And once you're more aware of these patterns,
Mm.
you can start challenging them. Ask yourself, am I doing this for me, or am I trying to impress someone else? What would I do if I knew nobody would ever find out about it?
Those are powerful questions. It's like holding up a mirror to your soul and asking what really matters here.
And that brings us to another crucial piece of the puzzle. Redefining what success means to you. Remember John Wooden's definition. Success is peace of mind. The satisfaction that comes from knowing you made the effort to do your best.
Right. It's about living in alignment with your values.
Yeah.
And striving for a standard of excellence that you set for yourself, not one that's dictated by external forces.
Exactly. Now think about how you might apply that definition to your own life. Let's say you're working on a personal project, maybe writing a book or learning a new skill. What would success look like if you weren't concerned with external validation?
I think it would be about the joy of the process, the satisfaction of learning and growing. It would be about the effort I put in, not necessarily the finished product.
Exactly. And that's a major shift in perspective. It's
Yeah.
about moving from a results-oriented mindset to a process-oriented one.
Which can be incredibly freeing, right? Because even if you don't achieve the specific outcome you envisioned, you can still find fulfillment in the journey.
Precisely. Think of it this way. Belisarius is just one of many examples of individuals throughout history whose contributions weren't fully recognized during their lifetimes. There are countless activists, artists, innovators, whose work went largely unnoticed, only to be celebrated years or even centuries later.
It makes you wonder how many brilliant ideas or groundbreaking works of art were never even brought to life because the creators were too caught up in the fear of failure or lack of recognition.
It's a sobering thought. Take the story of John Kennedy Toole, author of the brilliant satirical novel A Confederacy of Dunces. He poured his heart into this book, only to be met with rejection after rejection from publishers.
Oh, I've heard of that book. Didn't it win a Pulitzer Prize?
It did, but tragically, the recognition came too late for Toole. Devastated by the lack of initial acclaim, he took his own life. His mother continued championing the book after his death, and it eventually found its way into the hands of a publisher.
Wow, that's heartbreaking. It really drives home the point. That external validation can be so arbitrary and fleeting.
It is. It's a stark reminder that our sense of worth, our measure of success,
Yeah.
can't be dependent on forces outside of our control.
So how do we escape this trap? How do we cultivate that internal sense of validation?
Well, it starts by recognizing that detaching from outcomes doesn't mean becoming indifferent to them. It's not about abandoning your goals or settling for mediocrity.
So we're not talking about becoming passive or apathetic.
Not at all. It's about shifting your focus from the destination to the journey, from obsessing over specific results to finding joy in the process of striving, creating and becoming the best version of yourself.
So we're still aiming for the stars, but we're finding satisfaction in every step we take along the way.
Exactly. And that shift in perspective, that's what true freedom looks like.
So we've been talking about detaching from outcomes, finding satisfaction in the effort itself, and not letting our ego dictate our sense of worth. But is there more to it than that? Is there a way to, I don't know, not only tolerate what life throws our way, but to actually embrace it, even the difficult parts?
That's a great question. It brings us to a fascinating concept that the Stoics called amor fati, which translates to love of fate.
Okay, love of fate. I have to admit, that sounds a little intimidating. How do you learn to love the things that cause you pain or disappointment?
It's definitely a challenging concept, but the idea is to embrace everything that happens in our lives, the good, the bad, the unexpected, as necessary and even beautiful parts of our journey.
So even those moments that make us want to
You know,
pull the covers over our heads and hide from the world.
those two. Because the Stoics believe that everything, even the things we might label as bad, happens for a reason, and that by embracing the full spectrum of experiences, we can achieve a level of inner peace that wouldn't be possible if we only focus on the positive.
So instead of resisting or resenting the challenges we face, we try to understand what we can learn from them. Is that what Amor Fati is all about?
That's a big part of it. It's about recognizing that those difficult experiences often shape us in profound ways, even if we can't see it at the time.
Yeah. I'm starting to see how Amor Fati connects to the idea of detaching from outcomes. If we can learn to love our fate, we're not so attached to things turning out a certain way. We're more willing to surrender to the journey, knowing that even the detours and unexpected turns are leading us somewhere.
Right. It's about trusting the process, even when it's messy and unpredictable. And that kind of trust can be profoundly liberating, because it frees us from that constant need to control everything.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. But how do we actually cultivate this Amor Fati mindset? It sounds like a pretty advanced level of acceptance.
Well, one practical way to start
Mhm.
is by practicing gratitude, even for the things that we might not initially feel grateful for.
So instead of dwelling on what's wrong or unfair, we look for the hidden blessings or lessons in every experience.
Exactly. Even in the midst of hardship, there's always something to be grateful for. Maybe it's the support of loved ones, the opportunity to learn and grow, or simply the fact that we're alive to experience life in all its complexity.
You know? It makes me think back to Belisarius. He was a man who achieved incredible things, yet he was denied the recognition and rewards he deserved. But he never became bitter or resentful. He continued to serve with honor and integrity.
Perhaps that was his way of embracing amor fati, of finding meaning and purpose, even when the world seemed determined to break him.
It's a powerful reminder that true fulfillment doesn't come from achieving specific outcomes or gaining external validation. It comes from living in alignment with our values and embracing the journey, with all its twists and turns.
And that, I think, is the essence of what we've been exploring today. Detaching from outcomes, cultivating internal validation, and ultimately learning to love our fate. These are powerful tools for navigating life's inevitable challenges and finding a deep and lasting sense of peace and fulfillment.
It's been an incredibly insightful conversation, and I know I'll be reflecting on these ideas for a long time to come.
Me too. It's always a pleasure to delve into these topics.
And to our listeners, we hope you enjoyed this deep dive. We encourage you to ask yourself, what is one area of my life where I could benefit from detaching from outcomes? Perhaps it's a creative project you've been putting off, a relationship that needs tending, or simply a shift in perspective. That will allow you to embrace the present moment more fully. Remember, the journey is just as important as the destination. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep seeking knowledge